Okay, here we go. It's video number 4. So in this video, I think the first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of housekeeping. I've started to put these videos in sequence into a playlist. The playlist is called Jehovah's Witnesses, All Things New. So I'm sequencing the videos by number. And I'm doing that for a reason, because I intend to start with what I consider are basic things. And as you go down the rabbit hole, I expect it will get more and more intensely profound. So if you decide you want to obey Jesus Christ's commandment and pay it forward, you in turn are to bear witness. I would recommend that you don't take a video further down the rabbit hole and give it to one of your friends or family, because it might be too intensely profound, and because these things, many of these things will be new, you run into the possibility of immediately bursting a wineskin. And so if you want to pay anything forward, I would strongly recommend that you start with the basics and slowly pour the wine into the wineskin, and then the skin will have a chance to stretch, continue stretching, and be able to contain all of the wine. If you just quickly filled up that wineskin, there's more chances that it will burst. So I hope that analogy fits, and you'll understand the danger of sharing something too intensely profound with someone who might be interested in learning something new. So yeah, if you've watched all the previous videos, you are now growing towards inheriting that blessing at the bottom of the rabbit hole. And yeah, you're probably going to run into some new things that will be difficult to believe or understand. So yeah, if you really do feel like you'd like to put faith in Jesus Christ and observe that commandment that I showed you in the previous video, then do it very carefully. Be very careful what you say. Don't walk right up to someone new in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community and say, oh, look at this, and because you really will run into that danger. And already wineskins are bursting, I can see from reading the comments. It's difficult. So this video will continue on the theme, all things new. And in some of the previous videos, I've told you that, yeah, you're going to have to be willing to abandon many, if not all, of the things you've been previously convinced to believe, either by the Watchtower Society and its governing body, or things that even popular Christianity understands to be true today, because chances are those things they think are true aren't true. And I'll show you why. I'll read a scripture if I can find my glasses. Here you go. So I'm going to go to what most people consider as an end time scripture and read something that it says. It's in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4. There you go. Listen. It says, "And as for you, O Daniel, make secret the words and seal up the book until the time of the end. Many will rove about, and the true knowledge will become abundant." So that's really interesting, because this is an end-time scripture, an end-time verse that says it's an end-time verse. And what it's telling us, Christians, is that you're not going to know the truth until the end, the true knowledge. It won't be available to you until the end. So Christianity has been around for about 2,000 years now. And the Bible itself has been around for 2,000 years, right? Those apostles started writing their letters sometime around 2,000 years ago. And the prophets wrote their books even thousands of years before that. But it won't be until the time of the end that it all might be understood. So between about 2,000 years ago and the time of the end, what is it that Christians believed? So this scripture here in Daniel chapter 12, what it's telling us is that whatever it was that Christians believed in that amount of time, approximately 2,000 years, especially if you think we really are living during the time of the end now, everything that Christians believed in that time span is likely not the true knowledge. And so that's the old stuff. Because the true knowledge will only become known during the time of the end. And that's why I've told you in the last couple of videos that you have to be completely willing to abandon all the old stuff. And yeah, a lot of the old stuff was kind of nice. And that's what the people, the old wineskins will say. The old is nice. And they won't be able to accept anything new. So do you see why wineskins will burst? Yeah. And have you seen some burst already with just the very basic, what I consider are very basic new things to just start this video series with? And I have not yet told you any prophecy. All I've done so far is read some scriptures and then point you towards real evidences that you, the audience, can see if you want to. And it's very important that you watch that video. The governing body really are the rulers of God's people, because otherwise none of this is going to make sense. You have to start seeing how truly spectacular Satan's deception has really been before anything I say in subsequent videos can make any sense to you at all. And already I see evidence in comments on those videos that they probably didn't do that. They didn't watch that video. They probably read the title and said, no, not going to watch that. It can't be true. And you yourself, as the audience watching video number 4, can go back and read those comments and make that determination for yourself. Did they watch that video? I don't think so. But I'm not going to get rid of those comments because they have value. They're testimony that are real evidence that they didn't take the time to listen or see. And so you can count those comments in as yet another evidence that what the Bible said would happen is happening. Wineskins are bursting. They won't like hearing something new. So now I'm going to read the verse immediately before the one I just read in Daniel. And it's in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 3. So here it goes. It says, and the ones having insight will shine like the brightness of the expanse, and those who are bringing the many to righteousness like the stars to time indefinite, even forever. Wow. So what that means is it's not just me. Other people will start saying the same things. They will be paying it forward and bring the many to righteousness. Well, what's righteousness? It's the truth, the true knowledge. What's really true? So as a member of my audience, you should be making that determination now for yourself. Have I shown you real evidences that you can see in your own life that are also happening all around the world, that you can measure against the scriptures that I've brought to your attention? Yes or no? So that's all I've done so far. Show you the evidence and the scripture that says that evidence would exist. So now, if those people are going to shine like the brightness of the expanse, that reminds me of another scripture that I'm going to read to you. So remember what this weird description of these people. I'll read it again. They will shine like the brightness of the expanse, like the stars to time indefinite, even forever. Now that brings to mind another thing that Jesus Christ said, because we all believe what Jesus Christ said. And wouldn't it be kind of profound to connect what Daniel was told to something that Jesus Christ himself said? That would be cool. And then if we can make that connection in this end time scripture to one that Jesus Christ also talked about in regards to the end, then we can see that what the Bible said would happen is really happening. Wouldn't that be cool? So here it is. It's in Matthew chapter 13 and verse 43. Verse 43. Listen carefully to what Jesus Christ said. And while it's still fresh in your mind, what Daniel said. At that time, the righteous ones will shine as brightly as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let him that has ears listen. So, were you listening? the righteous ones will shine as brightly as the sun. And so in Daniel 12, verse 3, isn't that exactly what Daniel himself said? And here Jesus Christ is echoing what Daniel himself said. And so now Jesus Christ is saying it a little differently. Daniel said that this is something that will only be understood during the time of the end. And here Jesus Christ is saying, at that time. What time? The time of the end. Shall I read it again? At that time, the righteous ones will shine as brightly as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. So, who's their Father? That's something else we should be listening to. Who's their Father? Is it Jesus Christ? I don't think at any one time Jesus Christ ever said he was our Father. Can you think of any time? If there is, then let me know. Because from what I understand from Jesus Christ and the things that he said in the Bible, he said we'd be his brothers. He mentioned nothing about him being our Father. But you know what? Now I'm kind of obliged to read the entirety of what he said, because we need to know what time that was. So here we go. Now I'm going to read from Matthew chapter 13 again, except this time I'll start in verse 40. Therefore, just as the weeds are collected and burned with fire, so it will be in the conclusion of the system of things. Well, what's that? The end. The time of the end. It goes on to say, the Son of Man will send forth his angels, and they will collect out from his kingdom all things that cause stumbling, and persons who are doing lawlessness. And they will pitch them into the fiery furnace. There is where their weeping and the gnashing of their teeth will be. At that time, the righteous ones will shine as brightly as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let him that has ears listen. So, I'm not going to say that the weeds have already been burnt up. And so, even though the weeds and the wheat are now being separated, as I've shown in the last 3 videos, and in videos I've made years before, I can't tell you that the weeds have yet been burned up and that the weeds are weeping and gnashing with their teeth. But I think we're pretty close. So it's at that time that you can fully expect then that the true knowledge will become abundant. And I showed you in the last video, video number 3, how that will happen. Jesus Christ told everyone, or pointed everyone towards a commandment that comes from the Father to pay it forward. If you've been helped, then you in turn are to bear witness. And can you see, if everyone observes that commandment, how the true knowledge will eventually become abundant? It should become viral, if I'm going to use modern terminology. But there's something else here that it's going to be new for some people, and it might burst some wineskins. Just from this scripture that I'm sure every Christian is aware of, the weeds and the wheat. So here it says, they will collect out from his kingdom, the Son of Man's kingdom, Jesus Christ's kingdom. So we could expect Jesus Christ's kingdom to be infested with these weeds, but eventually they'll be separated, divided. Jesus Christ will light a fire that will cause divisions that cut right to the heart of what was once a wholesome family unit, and people will be separated off. And it's really happening all around the world. It's evidence that you can see. Wow. But what is it that might cause some wineskins to burst? So that's what is going to happen to Jesus Christ's kingdom. And today we call it Christianity. Popular Christianity like to call it Christianity. But look what's going to happen. They're going to shine as brightly as the sun somewhere else. It won't be in Jesus Christ's kingdom. It's going to be in the kingdom of their Father. They'll be shining as brightly as the sun in God's kingdom. So if you actually listened, like Jesus Christ said here, let him that has ears listen. Well, Jesus Christ's kingdom then is not God's kingdom. And so, oh boy, that's going to push some buttons, because there's so many Christians who think that Jesus Christ is God, and his kingdom is God's kingdom. And yet, here it said, the righteous ones would shine as brightly in the kingdom of their Father. So, okay, which one is it? Which one is God's kingdom? Is it Jesus Christ's kingdom? Or is it the kingdom of their Father? Because it's most definitely identifying two different kingdoms here. And so there's going to be some Trinitarians and people who think that Jesus Christ is God that are going to be completely dismayed at what I've just said. Those wineskins are going to be stretched to the max, thinking that Jesus Christ's kingdom is not the same as God's kingdom. But Jesus Christ's kingdom is infested with Satan's weeds. Is that what it's going to be like in God's kingdom? Good question. I'm going to read a scripture and show you that nope, that's not what it's going to be like in God's kingdom. There will be no weeds in God's kingdom. So let's go read that scripture. Okay, so now this scripture, we're now back to Revelation chapter 21. And you do remember what Revelation chapter 21 says, right? It talks about those conquering will inherit these things. And they're the ones who will be called God's sons, sons of the living God. And I've already connected that back to so many other things in previous videos. So now we're going to move towards the end of Revelation chapter 21 and connect it back to Matthew chapter 13 and Daniel chapter 12. I'll start in verse 23. Here we go. And the city has no need of the sun, nor of the moon to shine upon it, for the glory of God lighted it up. Oh boy. Okay, so we just read two scriptures where it says the righteous ones will shine as brightly as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Wow, so this is connected, and it's right near the end of the Bible, Revelation chapter 21. For the glory of God lighted it up, and its lamp was the Lamb. And the nations will walk by means of its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their glory into it. And its gates will not be closed at all by day, for night will not exist there. And they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. Let me read that again. And they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. But anything not sacred and anyone that carries on a disgusting thing and a lie will in no way enter into it. Only those written in the Lamb's scroll of life will. So, is that talking about God's kingdom or Jesus Christ's kingdom? Because if no one carrying on a disgusting thing or a lie will enter into this kingdom, then there's going to be no weeds. And yet Jesus Christ told us in the Bible that his kingdom would become infested with Satan's weeds. So, is Jesus Christ's kingdom God's kingdom? And do you see what this has to do with the righteous ones shining as brightly as the sun in the kingdom of their Father? Do you see why it has no need of the sun or the moon? Amazing, isn't it? So, yeah, it's going to be very difficult for people to come to terms with these two kingdoms being different. One infested with weeds and one completely without any weeds. And so, can you think of any people carrying on a lie? In fact, the lie? Millions now living will never die. You positively will not die. So, as a disfellowship Jehovah's Witness, are you carrying on with that lie? Because after all, they're all dead. Those millions are now all dead. and you've been disfellowshipped. So you're not carrying on with that lie, right? That's pretty evident from listening to thousands of ex-Jehovah's Witness testimonies. So who is carrying on with that lie? Most definitely it's the people you've left behind in the kingdom hall. All those millions of people are now dead. It should be blatantly obvious to everyone. And yet there's people still going to kingdom halls and carrying on with that. Complete, total falsehood. It's a lie. It's the lie. Satan's lie. It's according to the operation of Satan. Satan has completely undermined Jesus Christ's kingdom. It's infested with weeds and carrying on the same lie. It's the governing body have just extended it a little further by inventing an overlapping generation doctrine. And so now everyone's still carrying on with the lie because by now all those millions of people that they made the promise to, that they'd never die, they should be living in a paradise earth, and they're not. So the governing body are obliged now to say in their hearts, because they won't say it outright, they're obliged to say in their heart, my master is delaying. Because that they can't say anything else inside their hearts, because by now those millions should be living in the paradise earth that the governing body has been promising to them throughout the entire 20th century almost. Think about that. And if you're talking to your family that you have left behind, if you actually have an opportunity to talk to them, there's an easy introduction now. If you have a father or mother, brother, children left behind in the kingdom hall, point out this scripture in Revelation chapter 21. Who knows? Maybe they'll see the truth. You can pay it forward. All these things. And help them. And who knows, maybe some of the people left behind in the kingdom halls will now be disfellowshipped, come out, and learn the truth. And they themselves will pay it forward. And bring more people out. Wouldn't that be amazing? So yeah, the important thing to understand is that Jesus Christ's kingdom is not God's kingdom, the kingdom of their Father. And that might be new for some people, and it might be so new that wineskins will burst. So watch carefully in the comment section for that to happen. But hold on, in Revelation chapter 21, remember I read it again, it said, and they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. So that raises a question. Who are they? I'm going to suggest that they are, in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 3 again, they are the ones having insight will shine like the brightness of the expanse, and those who are bringing the many to righteousness like the stars to time indefinite. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. The they will bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it are the ones bringing the many to righteousness. And so how do you do that? How do you bring the many to righteousness? Pay it forward. you in turn are to bear witness. So if you've been helped, pay it forward. Otherwise, you won't have anything to bring except yourself. Wouldn't it be nice to bring more? In fact, many. And how can you do that? Pay it forward. Just observe Jesus Christ's commandment that comes from the Father. Amazing, isn't it? So now you might be in my audience and, you're learning all these things. It's time then to let your light shine. Don't hide it under a basket. Let it shine. Pay it forward. Then you'll have something to bring. Think about it.